Good morning and welcome to a great new week. Trust you had a beautiful weekend. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show this morning. My name is Fulu Falodio, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to the show this morning. For everyone that is joining us for the first time, we say welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us this morning. Sorry, we have been experiencing some, but hopefully all of that is behind. Thank you for joining us this morning. For everyone joining us for the first time, we are glad to welcome you to the tribe. And for our regular tribe members, hey, thank you for being here. I trust you had a beautiful weekend. Today we'll be going we have another beautiful package for you, a robust package for you, and as is our practice, we will be starting off with the headlines from and around education before we go to the topic of the day. I will not be doing the show alone. I will be joined by other analysts to take the show and to discuss our topic. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comment section. We will be glad to take your questions, your comments, and we would like for you to be a part of the show with us this morning. So, moving on straight to the headlines for today. Our first headline says insecurity. Ibadan Polytechnic begins resumption of social activities. The management of the Polytechnic Ibadan has announced the resumption of normal school activities in line with existing laid down procedures. The registrar announced this in a statement that was made available to newsmen in Ibadan on Sunday. So after the meeting and reviewing the situation they had on ground, suspending all social activities within the institution, they have decided that all the conflicts they had have been resolved. Peace has returned to the campus, and peace will continue to be promoted on the campus. So social activities and social life are going back to normal at the Polytechnic Ibadan campus. Yeah, that's good news. If on in the larger society, we can come to conflict resolution like this, and maybe this fast, yeah, we will have a much better society, and we will have less of the rancor and all that we have around. Hopefully, this microcosm will tell on the larger society. Yeah. The next headline: poorer because of IPPIS, says SANU. The Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, has said that the introduction of the Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System, IPPIS, by the federal government has mutilated their salaries and made them poorer. So the national president of SANU said this and made a statement during the weekend at the executive meeting and workshop that they held in Bauchi. I know that so many of the members of this association and even some members of SANU of ASU kicked against, as soon as so many of the university workforce kicked against the IPPIS. But, well, just as we have said about conflict resolution, I believe that the government and the associations can come to a round table, find workable solutions around these things, and then so that we don't have another strike looming because of this. And our last headline for this morning says Unizik beats Unilag to emerge top in Chinese bridge competition. That's quite an interesting one. First, the Confucius Institute at the Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, Anambra State, has won the Chinese bridge competition for Nigerian university students. So the Chinese bridge competition is an annual event that aims to arouse the enthusiasm of students in various countries in learning Chinese and strengthen the world's understanding of Chinese language and culture. And the institute at Unizik has won this competition consecutively since 2018. So we probably have better Nigerian Chinese students in Unizik than we have maybe anywhere else in the country. But congratulations to both institutions, both Unizik and Unilag. Congratulations to both of them for being in the competition at all, for participating, for fielding their students, and eventually to Unizik for emerging the winner of the competition. And that's it from the headlines this morning. We will be going right on to our topic for today. And our topic for today is, shall we pray? Shall we pray? We are leaving that without a punctuation mark. So we could have it as a question, we could have it as a sentence, we could have it as a statement, and we would be looking at it from different angles this morning. Does religion have a place, a role to play in school, in education? The school is expected to play so many roles. The school is foster parents. The school is cultural learning center. The school is teaching and it's a teaching and learning exchange place. Is there also room for religion in schools? For some time we have had this debate where in some places, uniforms were tampered with, or there were protests about the uniforms being changed, about some things being added, some things being taken away, also all of that, and a strong tussle for recognition, for for acknowledgement within the school system. What really is this, or should this be should it be the reality of students in school? Should we have religion playing a role in schools? If we would have religion playing a role in schools, which one of the several religions that we have should be on the front burner, or should we be giving all a role and a place in running the school, especially the school assembly? And we talked about the school assembly some time ago, talked about what's been happening on school assemblies. In some cases, assemblies don't even hold anymore because you see this religious intolerance thing came up and just it crept into the school system and just turned things around. What we were not experiencing before, started experiencing it on the assembly. Students used to have, or on the assembly ground or in the assembly hall, students used to have access to learn different things, to different information. But it suddenly became a war zone of sorts where uh, it became a tussle uh, for oh, we shouldn't be cast aside, we shouldn't be, we're also important, and all of that. What really should be the role of the school in religious education for children, if any? These are the issues we'll be considering this morning. Okay, so for me, on my part, I think the school should be a a place where children have access to as much information as as is available or as is possibly available. So this information cuts across religion, culture, language, um, subjects, all of that. It's the place where you students and children should have access to these things, where they can make up where their worldview is formed. So it's not just us saying, oh yes, parents have their preference when it comes to instruction, religious instruction, or that's done in the house, or that's done at home, where you have a religious inclination and that's what your family subscribes to. Yes, at home parents do that, introduce the children to the religion they practice, let them know the tenets, let them know the practice of the religion and all of that. And then when we get to school, it should be the blending pot, the melting pot, where I know what I subscribe to is different from what the other person subscribes to, but it doesn't make me a better person than them. It doesn't make me superior to them. And then we begin to have all of these issues around, no, you don't talk to, or you don't play with. These things come up. You see children along these lines, along this talk, make comments, judge others along these parameters. And sometimes I hear the children talk, and it's so obvious that they are only echoing what they have heard the adults in their lives say or discuss or talk about or instruct them. I think the school environment should be that place where everybody can find their identity, and where we can learn, uh, where we can export to the larger society the concept of inclusion, the concept of respect for the other person, the concept of respect for the belief system, and the language, the culture of the other person. And so when uh, prayers come up in school, or when topics around religion come up in schools, it should not become a thing of, definitely depending on how diverse the school is, we may have maybe more than 6 religions even present in the school. I mean, there was this school issue that I I got to know about 2 years ago, where the one sect was clamoring for the inclusion, for visible inclusion in the school as regards the uniform, and then another sect was saying, no, this is what this, all that was going back and forth. And in the middle of all of that, another sect just came up and said, oh, okay, so for us in our family, in what we subscribe to is the traditional African religion, and we would like our children to come to school, with something that signifies them as adherents of this religion. And at that point, it sounded, it was like bringing in another angle to douse the tension of what had been on ground, but also it was a pause to check and say, hold on, aside these two major parties dragging things up and down and all of, there are still some other people who should be involved, who should be included. If we really have to say, there is equality, or maybe not equality now, maybe equity, or whichever one it is that works for the institution, we really need to put this into consideration. And I think that these issues are a lot easier for the school to handle if work is done already from the home. It's a lot easier. So parents are not putting into their children's head the concept of, oh, you are better than the other person because of this. We're not consciously dividing the children along the lines that should not divide us. We have personal preferences. Some things we cannot change. I can't change mine, the country that I belong to by birth, or by what now? By blood, by DNA. I can't change certain things. But when it comes to things like um, even my language, I can't change it. I may prefer some other language and choose to learn to speak some other languages, but I cannot say that, oh, I'm not the language of my birth, and say, oh, I don't like it, so I'm not taking it, I'm not, or start thinking any less, or because somebody else speaks Italian, they're better than me, or because someone speaks Spanish, they are less. No, if we are able to do this from the home, and children see themselves and see others first as human beings with preferences. So I make a choice for this religion. I make a choice for this form of dressing. I make a choice for, there's some preferences that we make that should not define us. If we're able to do that from the home front, and we have children come to school, and what they come to school with is respect for the other person first of all, then we have covered quite some ground. We have reduced so much more of the problems that we're giving schools, uh, that we're giving to schools, because with this topic we're discussing, it really is a problem for the schools. What exactly are you, different parents are coming up with, no, we want this, another set come up and say, no, we want that, and some are saying, no, if you're going to do this and that, then you also have to include us, or include, and it really is not feasible, or it's not possible to incorporate everything. I know of a school that once celebrated the Indian Festival of Colors. It really was very beautiful watching it. Did everybody agree with it? No. Did everybody have to get marked with the colors when they celebrate Holi? The colors, it really is a beautiful festival where the colors are splashed and everybody and all of that. You don't have to participate in it, but those that were adherents felt, because this is a school in Nigeria, so for Indian students in Nigeria, if it felt like, oh, we matter, we're recognized, something that matters to us is being replicated even though we are not on home soil, Yes, we may have our personal uh, opinion on that, but it does not, it doesn't change our belief system. I have also seen the same school celebrate the Festival of Lights, that Dia for the Indians, and it's just a thing of live and let live. How many hours do we have children in school for? How many minutes really do assemblies hold for? That we now have to divide the kids and make. Sometimes you don't know. We may not be able to measure how far or how deep these things go. So the children have made. They have that opinion in their head. They have, it's. They have formed that opinion, and they feel, oh, this person is not my friend, or this person is less, or because of this thing, and then they carry that to adulthood, and we begin to have intolerance. We begin to have people judging the other person. No, I can't work with somebody who is along these lines, or I can't be friends with I can't do business with somebody, and all of these things are aside the school, what happens on the assembly or in classes, or aside all of that, when we look at the cascading effect on the future, and the effect it has on us as a society, as a people, then we need to pay much more attention to see how we do with these things, to see how we manage it, and how we are helping the school to educate, to properly educate our children, to properly educate the students, and to give them a balanced background, a balanced worldview, a balanced opinion of people, of identities, uh, of individuality and of individualism. And I'm glad to see Ugochi here. Good morning, Safety Chick. Safety Chick, can you hear me? Okay, I'm not sure she can hear me yet, and we would hope that we don't have a network issue on our end, and that she can join us. She can join us fully very soon. Good morning, Olushola Olumide. Welcome to the show this morning. We're glad to have you here. So, looking at how this issue affects children when, or maybe now as young adults, when they have to leave their immediate environment and go maybe travel for higher education, and then they're in the same room with somebody from a religion they probably have not even heard about before. How are they able to uh, to manage that? Do we prepare them for that point, for that period in their life where all they have known all their lives is just this one way, or just two ways, and then now they're faced with a larger international community, larger belief systems, and they have to, and then they have to live with them, work with them, be school with them, for hires, for master's degrees, sometimes for even their undergraduate degrees. Sometimes, how are they able to make the switch? How are they able to make the blend in? How are they able to make the blend? And how do we prepare them for that time when they're out of the uh, what do we call it now, when they're out of the shelter of the familiar, when they're out of that place where what they have always known to be right is now being challenged. What are the things that we as parents and even as schools should be doing? There are children who have classmates. There are children who have classmates that maybe are non-Nigerians, or maybe are subscribed to different, cultures are different. And even here as a country, we have all sorts of belief systems. How are we able to help those children? Yeah, as parents, as caregivers, as guardians, as educators, we need to be able to let these children grow. So we need to be able to help them expose their minds to look beyond this. We are a diverse people, and as much as we are a diverse people, despite our diversity, we are first of all humans. We can influence each other. We can. We may even subscribe to, different philosophies of life. But then, first of all, we are human. Some people would see somebody else in need and will not be able to help them simply because, we don't speak the same language, or we don't have the same religion. All of those things that tear us apart. Sister Chick, can you hear me now?
Good morning, P. I've been hearing you throughout. You were just not hearing me.
I wasn't hearing you. Good morning and welcome to the show this morning. Okay, so I think I'll take it for you from the point of getting children ready, getting children ready for their immersion into a culture, a society, a language, a religion, especially that is different from what they're used to. How do we prepare them? And I'm sure I'm asking you this for obvious reasons. How can we prepare them to uh, to be immersed into that experience without coming up against issues?
Okay, so thank you so much for asking me this question. And, as you asked, the very first thing that came to mind was I remember how the US government prepared us to come to the US in 2018 because they knew that for many of us, that was going to be the first time we were traveling to their country. What they did was we had a thorough induction. And aside the induction, we're given materials to read, right? And now that was because we're going for a program that was in this place. So we had sessions, we had different speakers come and share their experiences with us. We had people who had gone before also come and tell us the realities of the things they met on ground, the things that might be shocking to people like us, and teaching us how to respond to seeing things like that. Now, I admired that because it was foresight. They understood that there's going to be culture shock. You're going from a place where you can't call your teacher by first name, and you're going to a place where the teachers would expect you to call them by first name, because if you're doing sir, you will not even answer. You see what I mean? So it was important that we did that induction happen. However, when you are not going, excuse that person.
For a local ranger
Could you
on the
mute?
road to Ranger. Let's take a listen to
No, there is some disruption coming from, I don't know who just joined us, but we need you to please. Thank you. Okay, so it's better now.
Okay, so I was saying that in cases now where you're not going for a program like that, where you all had that induction and you were all prepared, then you have the responsibility to prepare yourself. You have the responsibility to do your research. So when I had to go to Kenya for a regional advisory board meeting, by myself, I went on Google to check what is the weather like, so that I would know the kind of outfits to pack. What do they eat? How do they dress? So that I don't come up a certain way. I did that necessary research. So my advice to all to students who are preparing to go to school outside the country, especially those who are going for their first degree, there is a whole world of difference between how we operate here and how they operate over there. So please do your research, read, and you know what? If you are going to a school, the schools themselves send you information. I'm currently reading a booklet that was sent by my school telling me about different things, how to get accommodation, how to go out, how to tip, and all those sort of stuff. Even though I have previous idea due to the first experience in 2018, but it's just good to know that even if you're a first timer, you have access to these kinds of resources. So I'll tell the student, don't outsource that responsibility to your parents. I know you feel young, you're also interested, you're traveling out, you're traveling. No, do your own research so that you can integrate easily, and so that you don't do something that would make you to be labeled wrongly in this new environment, because it's very easy for the words intolerant to fly around. And so if you have not done your research to know what you can say and what you cannot say, where you can go and where you cannot go, how to behave when you see things that seem outwardly. For example, I remember that I was in Arizona, right? And Arizona is very hot. So thankfully, before we left, we had been told that you're going to see some sort of dressing that on a normal day you won't see on the street in Nigeria. Please don't look and start tapping, hey, can you imagine? Come and see. No, just, just maintain your composure. When we got to Arizona and I saw young ladies like normal, just working on this because it's really hot, right? Like, this bomb shot that is almost like pants. That is what they're wearing on the street. And so if you are not someone who has been prepped and to understand that we have different realities, you might be thinking that, hey, it's immoral. But it is not immoral. It is not immoral. Do you see what I mean? So it's really critical that you do your own research, find out, ask questions, look through the resources your school is sending you, because many times the schools will always send resources to prepare international students. They understand the situation, so they send resources. Don't just look at it, it's too much emails. It's for your own good. It really is for your own good. And then I would also say that I really don't like us preparing for things when it is time to go. I like for things to be learned as people grow so that it becomes a part of them. From now, from primary school down to secondary, we should have activities that cause our young people to read wide, do research about other parts of the country, be tolerant to one another, because if tolerance is your normal attitude to life, it will be easy for you to blend anywhere. You will have unnecessary issues. But if you've not learned those life skills normally, and that's why I think it was last week we talked about what are the things students should pack in their toolbox, and I talked about interpersonal relationships, I talked about negotiation skills and all that. So it's really important that from the beginning we begin to train them that way through group work. Group work is a fantastic way to integrate many skills in. Give them opportunities to work with different, and when people work in groups, that's when you see a rishi character, So working with all sorts of people begins to hone their leadership skills, know how to communicate with people, okay, there's some people that they will never ever work in a group. And it's just normal. And then there are those that will be hyper, who are the over busy bodies, and then there are those that are just level. And when you understand those group dynamics, you begin to grow. And when you begin to find yourself in other groups, it just gives you more insight. So I would say that if the child is already going prepared, don't outsource your learning. But going forward, schools should just begin to integrate all these learnings as the children grow through primary school, through secondary school. I'll stop there, Phil.
Thank you very much, Ugochi. That was in depth and that was robust. And I'm hoping that the lessons and the points in what you have said are not lost too much in, there's a way we come up with a mental block when these things come. No. Bomb shots, at the mention of bomb shots, every other thing is lost. I'm just not hearing beyond that. And I'm hoping that we can actually look at and pick out the salient points in what you have said. And we are joined by the what's now the VC of this academy, Professor. Yes, now Professor Rotimi Eyitayo. Good morning. There, there is somebody else. I can't really decipher who it is right now, but good morning and thank you for joining us.
Hello, good morning. This is Olushola Olumide.
Oh, wow. Good morning.
Good
We're
morning.
glad to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you. Yeah.
So apparently, he did not do our research according to safety chick. Should
I'm
I
not
According to
really
safety chick.
at least I'm affirmative that we're not wearing bomb shots here.
Are you sure that that's not what you're
exactly like
Just your own. That's what I'm concerned. You know, you're not in Nigeria anymore. You are just partially here. So we don't consider you part of the number. All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Good morning.
Good day to you. Good day to you. And good to have you here. Yes.
Continue.
Now, what is
okay,
World
I'm hearing some
Pollution
feedback, so I wasn't sure what.
I think it's
Okay,
maybe
so
aware of this.
yeah, okay, it's better now. It's better now. So we have been talking about this immersion, and Ugochi nailed it with the word tolerance, being able to tolerate the other person. And so I would ask for our newest entrance in the house. Let's hear your opinion about the role that religion actually should play in schools. Olushola Olumide.
Yes, thank you very much. I think religion has a lot to play, especially considering it from this climate where we are in. Religion, if it just to be practiced, I think it wouldn't have constituted any problem. But the way we practice religion in this part of the world, it is serious immersion. It's more or less of an indoctrination, and people find it difficult to even challenge what is being taught or what they've been exposed to over time. And I remember we had a program here sometimes ago when I did say that it's more difficult for people to unlearn. Programming people is easier, but reprogramming them, especially when they are adults, becomes a serious issue. And when you see somebody from the other divide, instead of you to probably sit down, find out what are they talking about, the first thing more often than not is to be defensive in this part of the world. Apart from even different religion, even in the same religion, you see a lot of issues. Fine, there is a benchmark we must not fall off as far as morality is concerned. Of course, the question also comes of what is morality? What is the truth? These are different issues. However, my own take is that I believe there are certain things that are sacrosanct. I don't know anywhere in the world where they say, oh, if you steal, you'll be applauded for stealing. I'm not sure there is anywhere like that in the world. Or somebody has done somebody killed the other fellow, maybe shooting or bullying the other person, and somebody say, oh, thank you for what you have done. It is not in consonance with what is good or what is acceptable across board all over the world. So I think when we look at it from that angle, it will help us. We shouldn't also forget that we shouldn't play religion and forget our humanity. We are human first, and taking care of your neighbor, of your friend, of your colleague, of your classmate goes a long way. And of course, I don't know any religion that tells you that when you see somebody who is dying, kill him or kill her, don't help him or her. I don't know of any religion which says such. However, the way we go about practicing it, our knowledge, our exposure goes a long way to help us in interpreting. And of course, children, they could be very angelic, with clean mind, very sincere, very open, until we begin to teach them something else. Until we begin to write what is not on their mind, they are not even conscious. They play, after disagreeing, they go back, share food, play, jump here and there. But adults, I think the people we live with, the environment as they are conditioning us, we unintentionally at times pass the same down. And like Safety Chick has said, tolerance. Wherever you find yourself, even in the country, tolerance. In the place of work, in the school, there will always be issues that appear unsavory. However, when you are tolerant, you are able to be in charge of your emotion. Then you are even able to hear the other party out. So you don't just jump into conclusion and take wrong decision, only to find out that you are not armed with the full information initially. So I would say it has its place. However, the way we go about practicing our religion speaks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And let's also hear your thoughts, Mr. Rotimi. What do you think about this?
Well, I think it goes beyond what do I think. I think we we think a lot. And I think we need to move from what do we think to what should we do. Um, we know that religion is a very interesting subject matter. And there are certain things that I've come to realize that when something like religion now becomes culture, so it moves away from a systematic practice of belief. It now becomes the fabric or even sometimes the identity of a certain kind of people. So that means it runs deep, So should that be a factor when it comes to the education of a population? I think it's a factor. Religion must be treated as culture because that's what it is. And then when you begin to see the excesses or you see the extremisms, or you see the, like everyone has said, the intolerance, then we begin to treat how to change culture, we treat religion with the way we want to change culture. So there's something called culture change. Culture change has its normal course, especially when you're looking at, for example, an organization. When we take religion into perspective, we also need to say, just like Olushola Olumide said, we have to bring and present to all, or to at least the people concerned, what we call a case for change. If you notice, a lot of times people are chasing feeling. And so there's this thing that people are not okay. People are okay with you, with your religion, until when we want to talk about which one is the one that is dominant, which one is the one that is better, which one makes you feel you're an authority or you're number one. So if you go to the same religion, you still find there's an issue of class. And so there has to be sometimes a conditioning that will change that perspective. Thank God for some of the experiences some of us have had growing up and also in university. Let me give you an example. If you went to a university, for the university I went to, you know that you mix up with a lot of people. It's not by you don't have choice. So imagine you're in a hall where to your left you have someone of a different faith, to your right you have someone of the same faith but of a different variant. And everybody, look, when it's hunger time, there's no religion. When we are looking for food, there's no religion. Sometimes when it's sports or analysis of sports, there's no religion. And when it comes to exam, tutorial centers, trust me, you'll be shocked. There are times I've gone for tutorials and the person leading the tutorial is of a different faith. The major people within the tutorial class, they are also of different. So it just tells you that we have a lot of common denominator that we have not chosen to embrace as our identity. That's how you change culture. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? You know,
Yes.
so we're not saying people should not, because one thing at the seat of religion is the word faith. And faith is a concept that is built out of bias. You cannot take that away from people. You can't seek to legislate faith. You can't seek to change faith. Is like a fundamental human right. Everybody has a right to their faith, but then religion can actually be the expression of your faith. So that can always adjust with time, because if you look at it, what we have today as religion in practice is not how it used to be hundreds of years ago, 200 years ago. It probably wasn't like that, meaning that culture has changed over time. So we need to use that application to create a case for change. And that means that we need to use intelligence, because religion can actually build a country like Nigeria. Let me give you an example, because it's already a blueprint that works. It might be working in the extreme, but there is a template. There's an ecosystem for all religion. You'll be shocked. If you're looking for possibility of structured governance, go to the religion. There's a way information dissemination works. That's already a system that works. It's just for us to take the excesses and the processes and then build it. Look, for example, I was saying to a couple of friends when we had the conversation some months ago, I said that if, for example, I was the governor of Lagos State or another state, it's very easy for me to say, you know what, I'm going to build a worship complex. I'm going to, you know, the way they build shopping malls, the way they build markets, I'm going to build a worship complex. Why? I've noticed that it is a major concern and project among faith centers, right? This worship complex, right, I will make provision for worship facility that you don't need to task your members. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? You don't need to task your members to say we're having a building project. The government will build in such a way that anybody can use. All you just need to do is probably rent or use per time. You understand? And you can have in one worship complex, you can have maybe 10 chapels, small chapels for those who have small audiences, and maybe we'll have big cathedral inside. But everybody comes there. Look, you know what will happen? The moment you start having shared facility, you understand, you will begin to see tolerance emerge from there. Because number one, it's not your church that owns it, that gave you, it's everybody. Are you getting it? Shared facility will bring about commonality, and commonality will bring about acceptance. At least you start saying that people say, okay, for all of us that use this worship center, God is with us. Because if miracle is happening in chapel A, miracle is happening in chapel B, and they're of different brands, trust me, the same source is their supply, isn't it? Are you getting me? Whether you drink Dano milk, you drink pig milk, all of them are milk. You know. So I think with that few points, I'll rest my case. He's already giving me time.
Okay, so we seem to be extending the scope, yes, which really is good. But looking at the foundation now, at children, which is a better alternative for them, for us to allow them see the world, experience other faiths, experience just be let them see things outside of their immediate environment, or keep them locked in. And with this, I will give a particular reference to schools that are faith-based. It doesn't matter what faith is it. Is that rounded education for the children in such institutions? I would start from Ursula Olumide. What do you think about this?
Thank you, Finn. I think why a lot of children are shut in, especially in the religious or faith-based schools, at the root of it, I think it is fear. And you are afraid, and if they are exposed to this or that, what is going to be the repercussion on the children? But I think we shouldn't also forget that we cannot live indoor all our lives. You have to, just said, most of us, so to say, that has been in a way at one time or the other experience here and there, we appear to be more robust in our reasoning and our approach to things. We don't just make a conclusion haphazardly. Yes, if these children are shorting, there is likelihood
Okay, the audio is
the
cutting.
that have been created over the years. However, as much as we don't want them to be affected, we should allow them explore. We don't learn everything in one day. And what even gives you the impression that these children will be worse off? For it's not only a faith-based school. Look at faith-based families. Some of those children, by the time they leave for higher institution, within how many minutes, it's like they throw away. It was a time of throwing out all they have swallowed over the years, because they have not been opportuned to be exposed to certain things while growing up. And we should allow a sort of conversation, allow these young people to talk. For me, generally, my approach to young people is that even when we disagree, I will sit you down. Can you give me your points? Can you convince me that we will not negotiate that if I give you superior argument, you will align with me. If you give me superior argument, I will align with you. They will be so free. We'll talk forth and back, then we reach a compromise. Not because that decision is being forced down the throat of the child, because we have robust engagement. And the child knows the why. And each time we are able to get to the point of knowing the why, it goes a long way. Whether you are with the child or the child is alone, the why already is in the child, so the child works with that. We won't live indoor all our life. So for the faith-based school, like Rotimi said, culture change, we need to liberalize. Let me use the word liberalization in a way, and allow certain things to come in and allow the student to explore, have experience in other climes. So when they won't live in the school forever, by the way, by the time they leave school, they are still going to go out. By the time they leave home, they are still going to go out. So is it not okay that we allow them experience some of these things, have the knowledge? As a campus student, the kind of upbringing I had, I usually even tell people, you cannot attack a particular concept if you don't know the foundation upon which that concept is standing upon. And that personally helps me a lot. I read different things, experience different set of people. Because of my orientation, it helps me. So when people talk, I say, no, it may not really be as you thought. So I feel we should allow them explore. It will help them and it will make them stronger at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I hear the word liberalization, and that can take us another 1 hour of discussion, looking at it from different levels. But okay, so I'll take our final thoughts on this, Ugochi and Mr. Itai, as we close. Does taking religion out of school help us have better students eventually? Does it increase their focus on the academics? Does it increase their focus, or does it intensify their focus on other things? And do we have, at the end of the learning experience, do we have better students? Ugochi, let's hear you first.
Okay, so, I'm not sure that everybody would want to take it out of school, most especially when the school was founded on the resources of maybe a faith-based association organization. So if that is the case, because they are the ones that fund almost everything, they would want, and there's a reason for them wanting to do that, because they're trying to, should I say, manage morality and stuff like that, right? So we may not be able to tell them not to, because it's their resources, right? However, what I would just say is, as much as any of these faith-based organizations can run their schools, what is just important is to ensure that you always have a really high standard of education, so that the quality of candidates that you bring, people that you produce, rather, people can see that there is a difference. There's a particular, I will not mention it, but there's a very popular faith-based university that everybody keeps on saying they produce more quality graduates who are in tune with what is going on in the work environment. So when people talk about it, people are not even thinking about the fact that, it is a faith-based organization that runs it. They're just thinking about the quality of graduates that proceed from that institution. And so if we are able to produce quality graduates from the school, nobody would even remember whether it's a faith-based organization that brought it or not. So I think the focus should be that regardless of whether it's a faith-based school that is pushing the institution or not, focus should be on ensuring that the students have access to quality education, so that when they come out into the environment, into the society, they're able to play their role.
Thank you, Ugochi. And over to you, Mr. Timmy.
I think that faith is a very big component in our everyday lives. We can choose to restrict it to religion, but that won't be good enough, because the school system, especially from the bedrock stage, that's the early years, is a foundational level where we can build an entire resource and information base for the children, which also helps them to become total adults. And then they can take their path, and just like one of the holy books says, train up a child in the way he should go. Faith and religion is part of that way. Courtesy, respect is part of that way. Humanity is part of that way. So I think when those people become old, they are not able to depart from it, and they're able to take decisions. So we should encourage that in our systems. Taking it out lessens the quality of the content that we're delivering as a nation, whether it's resource run by faith-based platforms or it's open system. We must be able to take care of that. That's my take.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody for being here at the base and at the foundation of our discussion today is allowing children, first of all, be human. Let them understand the tenets of our living together, of our coexisting, essentially as humans, before we begin to see the different colors that define us. Thank you so much, Ugochi. Thank you, Odushola Olumide. And thank you, Timi Eitayo, for being here today. To every one of our tribe members who have joined us, thank you for being there. We're glad you were able to join us. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. You can catch the replay on YouTube. Share the link also with your friends and tell them about the show. Let them be here tomorrow. We'll be glad. We'll be here and have another robust package for you. But before we go, we are going to serve you our usual steaming morning cup of coffee by a steaming cup of coffee to start off your day.
It was Ugochi, now is you. Okay.
We're sending you into the day with our usual slogan, and on the count of, I'm sure Olushola Olumide can join us. You're as part of a family.
Yes.
Maybe we'll even let you lead this morning.
So. Okay, that would be nice. So let me give my trial before the hours we talk. It's always a great morning on the Good Morning Educator Show.
Yeah, and that is it from us this morning. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.